Hello.
Welcome. There you are. You're
Thank you.
even big on my screen as well. How are you? Doing okay?
Absolutely. And you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Thank you for being with us early. It helps us just make sure that everything's smooth and going well.
I understand because I'm doing lecture, digitally since the start of the corona. So I know the importance of being a bit early.
Yeah, it's different, isn't it? I mean, it's difficult for all of us. We're all sort of learning as we go along, but I think it's just great that I mean, I don't just mean us, but I mean the whole industry has been able to adapt quickly so that we can sort of keep all this information sharing, keep the meetings, and basically just keep the industry churning along whilst we ride out this storm. But obviously, as well, we're all learning new lessons that we can use and apply going forward. Anyway, yeah, like I say, we've still got a few minutes, so we might as well just, make sure everything's all right. Where are you based at the moment?
In Milan.
In Milan. How are things there at the moment?
Well, Milan has been the most, let's say, infected city in Italy. So things are still very, very slow at the moment. So we can go out, some shops open, but you can't take, public transportation, for example, too many people together. The rest of Italy actually is really fine. I mean, most of
Yeah.
Italy now, it's perfectly fine. Milan will take, I guess, probably June, July to end the
So
situation.
that means
Personally,
you,
they're fine.
yeah. So that means you in Milan and all the people there, you can't enjoy the good weather at the moment.
No, we can't.
Which is such a
I have a
shame.
balcony. I have a balcony.
Well, at least you have a balcony. That's one of the
Yeah.
things I've actually lamented of my time in lockdown is I wish I had a balcony to enjoy the sun when it's here. It's not here at the moment though, sadly, which is very frustrating.
Yeah, I
But
understand.
yeah, one thing that I'm being reminded to let you know as well is obviously, it's one of the joys I think of our digital talks. We're not largely constrained by time, so feel free to take your time. Don't feel like you need to rush anything.
No.
We've got flexibility
Awesome.
as you know. So yeah, and just before you start, so if you want to get your stuff prepared, I'm just going to do a few service announcements to everyone
Absolutely. No, that's no
to
problem.
make
Please,
sure they're
please.
all aware. Obviously, to everyone in the audience, I know we weren't able to do any questions with Facebook because they had to dash. Such is life at the moment. But hopefully, Diego, you'll have time for some questions
Absolutely.
at the end. So please do, as you've been doing all morning, afternoon, evening, all track, I should say. Throw your questions into the Q&A because I'll be coming back and me and Diego will be going through some of the questions and answers, trying to
Absolutely.
eke out all those last bits of information out of your talk. And obviously, if you've just got general things to say, thanks, just any sort of chit chat, we've obviously got the chat function down below. And we've also got the Discord as well, which I believe there is a link to the Discord in there, but I will ask my lovely track partner that is hidden away in the background to throw in the Discord link for everyone again, so that you'll all be able to keep going with the conversation. Obviously, with Discord, you can have it open at the same time as Zoom. Nothing to stop you doing that. So yeah, I'm guessing you've got a PowerPoint to share or something,
Yes.
Diego? Yeah,
Yes,
great.
absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, I know we've still got a couple of minutes, but if you've got all of that set up, then that's great. But I'll make sure that all of that's working. In the meantime,
Absolutely.
though, like I say, I'll just do a quick announcement to say to everyone:
Please do it. Don't worry.
Don't go anywhere after Diego. We've got our panel, and obviously we'll have our Q&A, and then we're going to be going through with all of our range of other events. And I'm guessing you'll be, well, I'm saying guessing. Hopefully you'll have some time as well to jump into the Discord after and join in with the chat with everyone. I think it's
the first meet and match that I have, it's 1:00 if I remember right. So I will be there.
Perfect. Have you been using the Discord at all while you've been?
Well, no, actually, I've been introduced to the Discord today. I didn't know it was present.
Perfect. I think that's the case for a lot of people. It's obviously brand new for us, but yeah, I think a lot of people are using it. So hopefully it'd be great to jump into that. And obviously we'll have all our announcements about things like our yoga. I don't know. Do you fancy joining a bit of yoga? I think it clashes with your meeting. Oh, great. Oh, good.
I honestly think that all developers, that's my opinion at least, should do stretching and yoga because we sit down all day.
I know. And especially at the moment, it's really, we're just sort of clumped in together. Gosh knows where people are. I mean, you know, a lot of people will be sharing buildings. They'll have children and stuff. So it may be that you're hidden away in a tiny little room, or you're even on your bed or something like that. So it's, you know, I think it is the yoga's, you know, we all have a bit of fun, and I think it's good to relax. But I think it's also important for everyone at the moment too.
Honestly, I honestly think, especially for back, I do like, you know, I actually don't know in English how it's called, like salute to the sun. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay. So I do like kind of this exercise in the morning and things like that, because I sit down all day, and I have to sit down all day. I mean, that's kind of like my job requires to do. So if I don't move, or at least stretching a bit, the back pain is terrible. You know?
I know, it does get a bit like that as well. So I think, yeah, anyone who is free to join the yoga, you should definitely consider doing that. And it comes at a nice time. We've got the break in between the tracks and everything else like that. So yeah, but I won't hold you any longer. If you want to get your, I think, you know, everyone here is ready for your talk. So I think if you want to share your presentation, I'll make sure it's working fine, and then I'll slide off into the background and rejoin you for the Q&A.
Okay, so do I have to share the screen, or do you want to share me the presentation?
No. If you just share your screen, it should come up fine.
Okay, so screen share. Just a second. There we go. There we go.
So perfect. I've got that up. So I will shut up now and disappear into the background.
No worries. So can I already start?
Yeah, please feel free to start.
Awesome. So first of all, thank you everyone for being here. It's a pleasure. And even if I don't see you, thank you for your time. So I'm Diego Ricchiuti. And if you have any question, you want the slide, you want to talk about it, because it's 20 minutes, so it's cramped, it will be super fast. There's lots to talk. Just add me on LinkedIn, it's D Ricchiuti, and I can pass you the slides, we can talk. If you have any question, whatever, just do it. I'm not gonna bite you. Also, I'm far away, so even if I want to, I can't. So who am I? Very, very quickly. At the moment, I'm working with AIV. AIV is the biggest game academy in Italy. We have more than 500 students each year. I'm also the lead designer of Caracal Games, which is a Roman indie studio. We are developing our 4th and 5th game, a VR experience and an open world for PC and console. I worked as consultant for Ignition, which is a publisher in which I help to discover potentially new hit or game that are in line with Ignition vision. I was the creative director of Donate, which is relevant for this talk, which is the first donation game in the world. I worked for Techland for Dying Light 2. I worked for Ubisoft for Ghost Recon Wildlands and Mario plus Rabbids. I graduated in UK, and that's my first experience with a very old and now failed video game Italian company. Now I know what you think, who cares? And you're right, no one cares, so let's move. And because there is lots to talk about. So motivation, let's start with motivation. Now, motivation has lots of meaning, has lots of ways being translated in the world. But let's say that mainly the motivation is divided in levels: psychological, safety, love, belonging, esteem, and self-actualizations. Physiological motivation is not dying, basically. You want to eat, you want to sleep, you are motivating to reproduce. There are all the physical requirements not to die and to fulfill your biological needs. Safety, it's still linked to not dying, but it's also about, you know, possessing things. We have things. Well, there was supposed to be a cap, probably didn't see from the virtual background. We have things because they give us a sense of safety. They give the idea that, like, well, if things go wrong, I still have that thing that can help me. Love, belonging is not reproduction, so it's not sex. It's literally the idea of loving or belong to something, belong to a company, belong to a cause, belong to a group. Esteem, it's our vision of ourselves, and self-actualization are dreams, basically. You know, I want to be better. I would like to become that. One day my game will be played by millions of people, things like that. Now, when we're talking about digital motivation, we are specifically talking about everything in this pyramid except physiological, because at least at the moment, video game cannot give physiological motivation. They can't allow us to reproduce, maybe, I don't know, future pornographic game, whatever, or they can't feed us. They can't let us sleep and things like that. Maybe in the future, I don't know. So when we're talking about digital motivation, we're talking safety, love belonging, esteem, and specifically, or not specifically, sorry, mostly self-actualization. Now, there are two types of motivation. That's it's agreed by all psychological theory and all psychologists. There is intrinsic motivation, which is usually is enjoyment, purpose, growth, curiosity, passion, self-expression, fun. It's the idea that something is motivating because the act of doing it, it's motivating itself. So I don't know, I like cleaning, not because I want my house to be clean, but because I like the act of cleaning, moving my hands. Or I go to the gym, not because specifically, so I want bigger mass or I want to maintain my, I don't know, I want to lose weight, but because the act of going to gym, it's intrinsically motivating. Then there is extrinsic motivation, which is bonuses, pay raise, promotion, benefit, prize, perks, winning. Basically, it's a reward. It's the idea that something it's motivating because it has a reward. You know, you get more money, you get famous, you win something, you get a promotion. Now, usually what you hear about or hear around, it's that intrinsic motivation is good and extrinsic motivation is bad. So it's always good to, you know, to be motivated because, yeah, the joy of doing it, that's the best thing ever. And if I give you money, instead I demotivated you because I make you only relating it to money. And instead, if you have the joy of doing things, that's always bad, that's also good. And instead, if I give you a badge or a prize saying you are the best in the world at that, then you're not motivated and things like that. Well, it's wrong. Okay, it's wrong. That's not how things work. Not at all. Now, both the motivation are good. Intrinsic motivation is good, extrinsic motivation is good. They are both good. One is not better than the other. They are different. They serve different purposes. They don't serve the same purposes. Still, they motivate the player, but for different reasons and in different ways. So they are used in different ways. They aren't mutually exclusive. That's another important thing. So if I have extrinsic motivation, I can have intrinsic motivation and vice versa. Now, sorry. One is usually dominant, okay? So if something is highly extrinsic motivated, it can have intrinsic motivation, but less. And something is highly intrinsic motivated, it can have extrinsic motivation, but less. But they are not like excluding each other. Now, what they are good for? Intrinsic motivation is great for creativity. You know, thinking outside the box, a wicked solution, imagination. When you have to ask someone to think in a very creative way. It's great for mastery. You know, if you want someone to achieve mastery, so become really, really good at something, intrinsic motivation is great. If you want to achieve stickiness, which stickiness can be, for example, for a mobile developer, can be translated into retention. If you want something to stick long for a player, maybe they play for a long time, or they play for maybe not long section, but many months, you need something that is sticky, something that is self-sustained, because the joy of the activity is sustained. It's social, it's great for social, you know, collaboration, teamwork, unite together for a goal. That's all intrinsic motivation. That's great, that's good for that. Extrinsic motivation, it's great for compliance. When you want people to do exactly what you ask them, that is extrinsic motivation. So if I want you to invent something, intrinsic motivation. If I want you to follow these precise steps, extrinsic motivation. It's great for routine. You know, if you want to transform something into a routine, for the reason it's the habit loop theory explained that, you need extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation makes things into routine. Habit loop, operant conditioning, and feedback, they are all based on extrinsic motivation. Incentivization. If you want to convince someone to start doing something that maybe they will enjoy, but they don't know, or they are not convinced they will enjoy, extrinsic motivation is great. It's for the people who maybe is expert in sailing, is the foot in the door technique. You know, I give you this incentive to convince you something, and then maybe you will discover that you like this thing. It's also great for solo, because extrinsic motivation push competition, push the idea that I have to be good, I have to be the best, I have to get the prize. So it's good for that. What they are bad for? Passion. If you want intrinsic motivation, you need passion. Without, there is no intrinsic motivation. You need lots of feedback, give constant feedback. This is good, this is bad, this can be improved, this is how you're improving. Constant interaction between community and the developer, or between the game and the player. You need to be relevant because you want creativity, you want autonomy, you want to be relevant. You know, maybe I'm doing something together, but I am a relevant part of this piece. What is extrinsic motivation? Value. You know, something is strictly motivating as long as it has value. Because if you give me something like, I give you €5 to, you know, work 300 hours in a day, well, that's not so motivating, you know. Then fading. The risk is that extrinsic motivation fades away pretty quickly. Show off. Extrinsic motivation leads to a lot of show off because, you know, I want the best cup in the world, then I want to show off the best cup in the world. I want to prove that because it's my possession, it's my proof. Now, I know what you think is cool and dandy, but why it's relevant, that's a great question. So thank you all guys for asking it. And it's relevant because of ads. Now, when we watch on mobile, but not only on mobile, because now ads and in general in-app purchasing and many other things related to monetization are not only mobile, you know, you can monetize console, you can monetize PC, you can monetize streamer, you can monetize lots of things. So most of the time ads, especially interstitial ads, are treated only as extrinsic motivation. So the idea is like, watch this thing and I give you something like a currency, money, special powers, you know, because I know that that ad is boring, is annoying, you know, so I have to extrinsic motivate you into doing something. That's why it's great, the writing the food part, you know. Sorry, just a second. It was, there we go. It's great for writing the food incentivation. Now, how can we improve it? Now, I want to show you very quickly, super quickly, this video. Now, in this video, we are seeing Sonic Dash, and the player has just lost. There is a continue possibility. The player does not take the continue possibility. It gets his reward, which is daily challenge complete, certain amount of rings. And then there is the possibility to double the ring by watching an ad. There we go. This one has been, as you can see, the developer is pushing for this type of monetization, because that type of monetization had kind of like a sparkle, an effect to it, you know, to attract attention. Just in case you didn't see it. Bing. Now, this is a very common type of monetization. You know, watch an ad and I double your reward, your effort. It's pretty fine, pretty working, but it's only extrinsic motivation. Now, can we do better? That's what we asked when we did Donai with the team that I worked on it. And we wanted to do something better because the game was very challenging and we were really focusing on monetization, and we thought, okay, that system works good, but we can do better. It was a question at the time. So we really worked, and what we developed was this system. This system is a double your coin system. So you say, well, Diego, you didn't do anything better actually. It might seem, but there is one time different in the system. This system happens at the start of the game. So the game is not ended. This is the start of the game. The player has to hold his finger in order to start the game, and he has 0 coin, and this one will double the amount of coin that the player will get into this run. So we did the design of this, and I explain you quickly the design. So there is a 33% chance that these things will appear. So it's not always appearing. Let's say that usually in free run, one time it appears. To watch it, you have to watch, to activate, you have to watch a full video ad. Once it's active, you double all your coins that you will get. And we did ABC testing, where A was, it's at the start, B was, it's at the end, and C is, it's not present at all. What we get was A was seeing B more, way more than B. So at the start, people were watching it more. A led to a slower economy than B because people got less money. Literally, like they were doing like doubling their money, like at the end of 10 run, they had earned less coin with this method. A led to a higher gameplay than B and C. So people played for longer periods in the sense of not for the entire game, but for the running time, so the endless runner time. Most of users rated A less annoying than B. The most competitive users were more annoyed by this system. So in general, the user appreciated more, the very competitive user appreciated less. Now, when these things happen, and user used more last chance item. In case you don't remember, we saw them in the video with Sonic when, like, you can watch a video to continue the run. Now, when this thing happened, that's what our reaction. We were like shocked because the results were incredibly different. Like A, so have the double the coin at the start of the run was incredibly more successful. Yes, some users were more annoyed, but they were the minority in any case. So we asked why it did work so well. And the reason is because that ad does work on extrinsic motivation, double the coin, but also work on intrinsic motivation. It works on both levels. Now, extrinsic is major in this case, and intrinsic is less. As I say, there are a dominant and a non-dominant one, but it's present, while before it wasn't present. Why it's present? What did it cause it? Now, one of the reasons, in general, in Donate, we had the luck to be partnered with Best Friend, which is the third largest NPO in America. And so there was an intrinsic motivation, the idea that, like, by playing the game, you are helping animals because you're generating resources that get donated to Best Friend Animal Society. But that was true for every ad in the game. It wasn't only for that specific ad. Every ad in the game generated a donation. So we thought that's not enough. So the real culprit was the sunken cost fallacy. Now, if you don't know what a fallacy or a bias is before explaining it, it's a bias, it's an inability or unwillingness to think or act rationally, reasonably or sensibly. In general, it's the idea that sometimes we make very irrational choices for reason, and those reasons are called bias. A fallacy is the same thing, really. It's just two ways to say the same things, which is a mistaken belief, especially one based on unsound arguments. So the idea is that, like, we are human, we think they are very, very logical, they are very rational, but it's absolutely not true. Like, it's been proved. It's not true. We are not rational. I am not rational, and you guys that are watching it, you are not rational. Fallacy and bias are these kind of like self-circuits in our brain that make us, they force us in some way to make unlogical or unreasonable decision. They are caused by evolution, society, and chemicals. There is many and they change, but every one of us has them. Maybe we have some, like some people have more of one and less of another, but we are all affected every single day. Now, what is the sunken cost fallacy? Now, the sunken cost fallacy is very simple. It's the people demonstrate a great tendency of continue and endeavor once an investment in money, effort, or time has been made. What does it mean? It means that once we work on something, or we have paid for something, or we invested time on something, if then we discover that that's something we don't like it as much as we thought, or maybe we are not feeling motivating to do it, then we will continue to do it because we are really invested time into it. Now, one other way in which it's called is the throwing good money after bad. It's the idea that refusing to accept that we have lost that effort, time, or money, and we can continue to invest in. Here, to give you an idea, is that, like, imagine that you have paid $500 to go to an event, and then you don't want to go. But now you think, well, if I don't go, I really waste $500. Then what you do is you pay an hotel and a plane to go to the event, spending even more money and time on it for something that you don't want to do it. Because you were convinced by, I don't want to waste my original investment. That's also happened, for example, for cinema. Like, you buy a cinema ticket and you don't want to go to the cinema, and then you think, oh, because maybe you read that the movie is bad. You go there, you had a terrible time, and you wasted the hour of the movie, plus your time, plus the money. While it was way better, more logical to just say, okay, I wasn't supposed to buy the ticket in the first place. Now, why these things cause sunken cost? I mean, why does this thing does that? Well, Because after the player has watched 30 seconds of an ad to double their money, they invested 30 seconds of their life, which means that their next run, it must be good. Otherwise, they wasted their time. And that's where the sunken cost fallacy enters into the player mind. Now, this makes the player subconsciously playing better, have a better experience, because if they play bad, that means they have wasted 30 seconds of their life. They've wasted their investment. They have to maximize their investment, which means they have to play better, and this explains the longer period of time. They play for longer using also objects, because once again, if I don't do enough money, if I don't maximize my investment, I wasted it. The user either translate item, because when they eventually lose, now they are facing into, okay, if I lose now, I gain 400 coins, because let's say that I gain 200, so they get double, it's 400. But if I use another chance item, then I can get even more coin and maximize my investment once again. Now, this seems simple, but it's not simple. Yes, we got lucky too, partially, but we were aiming for something similar. And this is how intrinsic motivation and fallacy can help you to develop better monetization system than not only monetize more, because this was watched more and it was watched for longer and people were less annoyed by it, but also to increase the motivation of your user. The user didn't recognize this fallacy within themselves. They just know that they play better and longer just by monetizing. Now, where do you find this fallacy, this bias? Nudge theory and behavioral design are all based on fallacy and biases. These are the books that I suggest you. Now, Nudge is fantastic. It's an economy book that won the 2017 Nobel Prize for Economy, and it's all about nudge. Drive, it's once again about nudge mainly, but also touch a bit of behavioral design. Predictability, irrational, it's behavioral design, which focus on fallacies. How to not be wrong, it's once again behavioral design, and the undoing project is behavioral design. If that's something that interests you, and if you are interested in motivation, that's something that should interest you, then please read this book. These books. Now, before QA, just very quick thing, sorry, it's a bit longer. I also work as a researcher on game design, nudge, and behavioral design. So if you have 10 minutes, please take time to do this survey. It will great help me. Already 500 people did it. It's just surveymonkey/r/gamefunc. So just remember r/gamefunc. It's a 10-minute survey. And please, if you have any question, I'm more than happy to answer to it. Second, Zoom, it's stopped, of course. Stop sharing, there we go.
Hi, well, thank you so much for a really interesting talk. I think that was, yeah, really fascinating insight into all the different areas of, you know, monetization and motivation. There's obviously sort of some deep psychological aspects into that as well to keep players engaged. So yeah, just to remind everyone, if you've got any questions, throw them in. We've got a little bit of time for questions. In the meantime, though, I wanted to ask something because I think it's just interesting to me, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, looking at the you know, the sunken time effect and how that works, do you think that can actually, I mean, obviously we're looking at how to engage players more and keep them playing in your game, but do you think that getting that wrong can also actually act as a barrier to players within the game and cause people to sort of have a negative experience, leave the game, all of that, even though you're trying to add something and it's not taken away from the initial experience? Do you think even if you get that adding stuff wrong, it can sort of corrupt the overall experience?
Absolutely, yes. And that's the reason why it's very important that when you're using fallacies and bias, you don't make them the majority. Then one of the main aspects on the design was that it happened 1 on a third. So it's 33% chance. Yeah. Because if you are doing it too many times, then player start to feel that it's aggressive, that it's imposing and they start to kind of think about it. While if it's happening actually the minor of the time, then of course it's random. So, you know, it can happen 3 times in a row and 9 times not in a row. I mean, there's differences. But let's say that usually it's 1 every 3 run. If it happens 1 every 3 run, the player can enjoy the normal run, see how much money they make, and then also allow the fallacy to work even better, because then they think, maybe if this run was the one that invested the money into the double, then I will be rich now. And said I didn't have the chance to do it. Well, if it happens every single run, eventually they will also get a run that are bad, and they only think, I wasted my time, I wasted my investment.
I think that, you know, balance between obviously wanting to monetize your title and being aggressive is a really clever balance that, you know, you've got to get. And I think, yeah, some studios can get it wrong, which, yeah, can be a problem. But we've actually, as expected, always happens, we've got a range of questions coming in now. So I'm going to start with Jackie's question. And she says, hi, Diego, great talk. Do you advocate that developers consider monetization and ad placement as part of game design right from the start? And if so, do you only look at rewarded ads or other kinds of ads?
Okay. So first of all, thank you for the question and thank you for the compliment. And yes, I think that if your game, it's monetized based, which is different than having a premium game has monetized element, because it's a premium game. So you're making money from the premium and maybe more money from the monetization. If your game is monetized based, then you have to design the monetization aspect within the game. Because if you're not doing that, there are only really 3 possible things that happen. You get lucky and you do it right, but then still bad, because if you get lucky, that means that you can't produce the same result again if you need in another game. You get very unlucky, and then your game gets, as was saying Sophia, it's being marked as aggressive and block players, or it's not blocking player by not making any money. So rewarding ads and in general, other type of monetization, all of them, they should include intrinsic motivation. For example, still in Donate, everything that the player watched that generate revenue for us, and in that case for Best Friend, was linked to a second currency that we call the D points, that stand for donation points, and basically was an experience. That's really what it was. Every time you watch an ad or you buy an in-app purchase, you're also gaining this kind of experience point that unlock different things, because that was creating a long-term goal for the player. So you always have to think where I want to monetize, how much I want to monetize, and especially what type of monetization. Because, for example, banners are not bad or good, but it really depends where you put them. Like if you put a banner, like, I don't know, here, and you have UI there, people are gonna hate it. Like they're gonna hate it because they have to watch UI all the time. If you watch, for example, how can I say, sorry, just a second. You know, eye-watching, tracking videos where they explain where people watch.
Yeah.
If you watch that in like any game, literally any game that doesn't have diegetic UI, you watch that one of the main area that people always watch, it's basically UI. So one of the things that this tells you is that you should put banner in the opposite side of UI. So in that way, people will actually notice less and they will be less annoyed by it. And that's something that you design with the game, because you have to know where UI is going to be. Otherwise,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll go. Yeah, some other questions here if you've got time. We've got. So someone's written. We saw some great insight from Rovio yesterday on psychology in advertising. Do you think the games industry is or should be paying more attention to how our minds work?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because for me, game design, it's not even game design. Like what I teach to my students is the game design is actually interactive media design. Because anything that is interactive has something to do with the game. Because at the end of the day, how we define games is by interactivity. Like, what is a movie? Well, it's non-interactable video. What is a game? Is an interactable image in some way. And the real problem is that our minds is what dictates our interaction. You know, I buy this shirt or I wear this shirt because my mind tells me to do. I have this giant cup for other reason. For example, I have this cup because I have to drink more and I don't drink enough. It's gigantic, sorry that you can see it, it's really big. And I trick myself into doing it, because if I have this giant cup and until I finish it, I know that I still have to drink. So we have to design how we interact with the player, because by designing how they think about the game and how they interact with the game, we can manipulate them. And I know it sounds wrong saying that, but we also can do that in a good way. Like, we give a super simple example. In movies, they do that all the time. You know, in movies, dialogues are primed. Priming is the idea that if you say certain words, people will think certain things, to basically give you the idea of something is going on. For example, evil guy should do something evil within 2 minutes of the first time he happened off screen. If you do that, our brain records that as bad, and now it records that as a bad guy, and so it should be, you know, punished. That's great. If I want to help the player understand who is a bad guy, I should use this system too. Within the first 2 minutes in which I present the bad guy, something done by the bad guy should be visible to the player.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, using psychology, you know, I say using, that sounds too manipulative, but, you know, being aware of it for both positive and negative reasons is obviously really important. But, you know, one thing that Chris has asked is, and I think is very important, especially in today's world, is about the ethics of it. And so Chris has said, there's been concern in recent years about game addiction and casino-style tactics in monetization via loot boxes and the like. And there's a constant threat of harsher regulation. So how do you think developers use psychology but still act ethically? And I suppose you've touched on that in areas, but...
It is actually a very interesting question. And the question for me is that, like every media, TV, every media, it's basically fighting for the same thing from the user, which is attention, okay? We're fighting for attention. I want you to pay attention to my game and not pay attention to other game, and the movie wants to pay attention to his movie instead of another movie, and TV and whatever, and books, so everything is paid for attention. Now, the more the media are evolving, the more they are learning how to fight for attention. And as I say, sadly, bias and fallacy explain you that even if you know them, you are susceptible to them, so you can't really, you know, avoiding them. So if I can use bias in a very bad way, I can lead easily to addiction, and game addiction and movie addiction, any kind of addiction really. That is not physical, once again, because physical is outside from the digital world. The problem here, what is the ethic? The ethic is that you should always think that you should still improving the player experience. If you are not really improving the player experience in any way with your monetization, then you are just predatory about it, which too predatory about it can be fine, because at the end of the day, you know, you have to make money, you have to produce something. But like, let's say that if 70, 80 of all your monetization technique don't improve the player experience, that's wrong. You should have like something like 40% of purely monetization technique. The other should be monetization technique linked to your gameplay or enhancing your gameplay. And same goes for de-enhancing. Like if you have a gameplay and you're thinking, oh, if I reduce the experience, I can monetize it, then it's still unethical, because you're saying, I know that my experience is good, and now I'm making bad in order to monetize for the people who wants it good. You should aiming to have it good and then enhancing it, and then have a smaller bit which they don't really enhance, but at least, as once again, as I say, the eyes, they are not so annoying. The eyes thing was about, I know that people watch UI, so I put it in the area that they watch less.
Yeah.
So it's still present, but it's not as annoying.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose that touches in on one of the other questions here, which is there a danger that we are led by psychological tricks over creative design? And I suppose that's kind of just what you said in another way, is, you know, you've got to get that balance right.
It is.
Well, we've got one last question in here, which, you know, we've still got a minute. So I think, although feel free to carry on with your answers as long as you want. But I wanted to, just get this one in time. And so this person says, you said that games can't give psychological motivation to players, but would the possibility of generating real money through the game give access to that motivation too?
Oh, okay. Awesome. That's very interesting. Now, with blockchain and everything like that, of course, now there is a new layer, which is actually I can get paid or can generate revenue, because of course depends on the business model of the company is playing it. But let's say I can get paid in some way to play the game. Now, that's, once again, it's good, but it's extreme motivation. And sorry, if you can reshare the screen very quickly.
Sure, of course.
Just a second, this one. The risk, like extreme motivation, as I say, it's great and there's nothing wrong with it. As like point was not be convinced by it's bad. But the problem is that extreme motivation is good for routine and compliance and incentivization. But it's really bad in the area of, just a second, okay. It's in the area of fading and value. So what it means is that, and I think that's happened to, everyone in our life, if you add any, employee job. So when you are not the boss, when you are the employee, right? Employer.
Yeah.
I don't know, which one is the boss? Sorry.
That's the employer. The employer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you are not the employer, so the employee, it happens that maybe at the start, you started to working on something and you say, oh, that's great. I love it. And I get paid, let's say 5 euros, whatever. And then 1 year later, whatever, you start thinking, I should be paid more for that, because I deserve more. And that's totally right. That is the value. That is the problem with extrinsic motivation. Value and fading are very aggressive. So the problem with extrinsic motivation in the sense of generating money within the game is the fact that you have to find a way, that's very difficult, in which the value that the money, that the currency that the player generates increase over time. Because let's say play 1 hour of a game and be paid 5 hours. It's good for the first 10 hours, 20 hours, 40 hours. But eventually your player will start to think, no, if I have to play this game, I have to be paid more out of it. Because the value fades off. And if you can manage to do that, to have an over increasing economy and always increasing, that's great. That's fantastic. But if you don't have that, then you're risking it that eventually when the value received and the effort perceived, because this effort perceived is not really effort, it's this. And as soon as this happens, your player is going to leave. Because now your game, it's purely a revenue thing that you do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I know we've run a little over, but it was just so fascinating that, I think, for me, obviously, I studied psychology a long time ago, so it's fascinating for me, and I love these sorts of topics. So thank you so much for sharing. And
thank you for your time.
Oh, no. And obviously we've got the Discord, so if anyone wants to jump in and ask some other stuff, then, please, I don't know, head over there and join Diego in the Discord.
So as I say, if you have any question, you want the slides, whatever, just ping me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, the LinkedIn's in the chat there as well. But no, honestly, thank you so much. That was a fascinating talk. I enjoyed every minute of it. So thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.